At my wife's birthday party last week, she announced to all her guests, Mike can stay, but he needs to stand over there in the corner and keep quiet. He ruins the atmosphere with his stupid comments. I spent the next 4 hours standing there like a punished child while everyone pretended I wasn't even there. I know how this sounds. Trust me, I've been living it for 3 years and I still can't believe it's real. But here I am, a grown man who gets put in timeout at social gatherings by his own wife. It started small, like most toxic things do. Sarah would give me little looks when I joined conversations at parties. Then she'd interrupt me mid-sentence to correct what I was saying. What Mike means is, became her favorite phrase. I thought she was just being helpful, making sure I didn't embarrass myself. God, I was so naive. The first time she actually made me stand away from everyone was at her friend Jessica's housewarming. I have been talking to Jessica's husband about cars, nothing controversial, just normal guy talk. Sarah appeared next to me like a storm cloud and said, Mike, why don't you go stand by the kitchen? You're blocking the hallway. There was no hallway blocked. There were like 6 people in a huge living room. But I went. I didn't want to cause a scene. That night she explained it to me in the car. You were being too loud. You always get too excited about stupid things, and it makes people uncomfortable. I tried to defend myself, said I was just having a normal conversation, but she cut me off. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't know how to read social cues. I started second-guessing every word that came out of my mouth. Was I talking too much? Too loud? Was my laugh annoying? I'd catch myself mid-sentence and just stop talking, watching Sarah's face for approval. She'd give me these tight smiles that I learned to read as you're doing it again. The corner thing became a regular feature. Birthday parties, dinner parties, game nights, there I'd be, standing against a wall while everyone else sat around laughing and talking. Sarah would introduce me to new people by saying, This is my husband Mike. He's not great in social situations, so we're working on it. People would give me these pitying looks, like I was some kind of rescue case she was rehabilitating. The worst part wasn't even the humiliation. It was how I started to believe her. Maybe I really was socially awkward. Maybe I did ruin conversations. Maybe I was lucky to have someone patient enough to help me improve. That's what she called it, improvement. We're working on your social skills, Mike. This is for your own good. My buddies from work started noticing I wasn't the same guy anymore. Tom, who I'd known since college, pulled me aside after a company happy hour where I'd barely said 3 words the whole night. Dude, what's going on with you? You used to be the life of the party. I made some excuse about being tired, but I could see the concern in his eyes. I stopped going out with friends altogether. Sarah said it was better for me to focus on real social situations anyway, meaning her friends' parties where I could practice my listening skills from my designated corner. She bought me a book about social anxiety and left it on my nightstand. I think this will really help you understand why you struggle so much. The breaking point came at her work Christmas party. It was a fancy event at some upscale hotel, and I'd been looking forward to it for weeks. I bought a new suit, practiced small talk topics in my head, even rehearsed some jokes I thought might be appropriate. I was determined to prove I could handle myself in social situations. But 10 minutes after we arrived, Sarah was steering me toward a spot near the coat check. You'll be more comfortable here, she said, loud enough for her coworkers to hear. It's quieter, less overwhelming. A woman from her office, Linda, I think, actually patted my arm sympathetically. It's so sweet that Sarah is so understanding, she said. Not everyone would be so patient. I stood there for 3 hours. 3 hours watching my wife charm her colleagues, tell stories, laugh at jokes, be the vibrant, social person I fell in love with. And I wasn't part of any of it. I was just the weird husband who couldn't handle parties. That night, I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back. When had I become this hollow version of myself? When had I stopped fighting back? When had I started believing that standing in corners was normal? Update 1. Holy shit, you guys. The response to my post has been overwhelming. I've gotten hundreds of messages and I'm still trying to process everything. A lot of you are telling me this is abuse, which honestly I never thought of it that way. I always thought abuse was yelling and hitting, not this. But reading your comments made me realize how messed up my normal has become. Someone pointed out that healthy partners don't isolate each other from social situations, and that hit me like a truck. I started thinking about other things Sarah does that I've just accepted as normal. Like how she answers for me when people ask me direct questions. Or how she's convinced me that I'm too sensitive when I get upset about anything. Or how she's slowly cut me off from most of my old friends by always having some excuse why I can't hang out with them. Tom is a bad influence on you. You always come home in a weird mood after seeing Dave. Maybe you should focus on making friends with people who are more mature. I decided to test something. Last weekend, Sarah had her monthly book club meeting. Usually I'd hide in the bedroom until they left, but this time I came out to the kitchen to get some water. Just water. Normal human behavior, right? Sarah immediately tensed up. Mike, we're trying to have a discussion here. One of the women, I think her name is Carol, looked confused. Oh, he's fine. Hi, Mike. She seemed genuinely friendly, like a normal person would be. But Sarah jumped in immediately. He gets overwhelmed in groups. Mike, why don't you go watch TV? We'll be done soon. The look Carol gave Sarah was interesting, like she was seeing something that didn't quite add up. But Sarah just smiled and steered the conversation back to whatever book they were discussing. I went back to the bedroom, but I left the door cracked and listened. About an hour later, I heard Carol say something that made my blood run cold. Sarah, I hope you don't mind me asking, but is Mike okay? He seems, I don't know, anxious around you. Sarah's response was smooth as silk. Oh, he has some social issues. Anxiety. You know? I'm helping him work through it, but it's a process. He's actually much better than he used to be. The other women made sympathetic noises, and Carol didn't push it, but something in her tone when she said goodbye to me later felt different. Warmer. Like she was trying to tell me something without words. I've been thinking about that interaction all week. About how quickly Sarah shut down any normal social interaction, how she framed it as me having problems rather than her creating them. How she's so good at making other people feel sorry for me instead of questioning her behavior. Last night, I did something I haven't done in years. I called Tom. Remember Tom, my old college buddy? We talked for 2 hours. 2 hours of normal conversation about work, sports, random funny stories. I laughed so hard my stomach hurt. When I hung up, I realized I hadn't felt that relaxed in myself and I don't know how long. Tom wants to grab drinks this weekend. Part of me is terrified, but part of me is excited. I told Sarah I was going out with him, and she got that look. You know the one, like she's disappointed but trying to hide it. Are you sure that's a good idea? You know how you get around him. But I said yes anyway. We'll see what happens. Update 2. I can't believe I'm writing this, but I think my marriage might be over. The drinks with Tom last weekend changed everything. First, let me say that Tom is still the same guy he's always been. Funny, easy to talk to, just a good friend. We went to our old college bar, and it was like no time had passed at all. I found myself talking and laughing like I used to, telling stories, making jokes. I felt like Mike again, not Sarah's broken husband who needs to be managed. Tom noticed immediately. About an hour in, he said, Man, it's so good to see you like this again. You've been like a ghost for the past few years. When I started to make excuses, he held up his hand. Dude, I've known you for 15 years. This isn't you being tired or stressed. Something's wrong. So I told him. Everything. The corners, the social coaching, the constant corrections. As I was talking, I watched his face change from confusion to concern to something that looked like anger. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Mike, he said finally, what you're describing, that's not normal. That's not how people treat each other in healthy relationships. He told me about his own relationship, how he and his girlfriend sometimes disagree about social things, but they talk it out like adults. How she might quietly mention later if he told an inappropriate joke, but she'd never humiliate him in front of people. How the idea of making your partner stand in a corner like a child would never even occur to her. The Mike I know, he said, is funny and smart, and people like being around him. If Sarah can't see that, maybe the problem isn't with you. I came home that night feeling lighter than I had in years, but also terrified. Sarah was waiting up for me, which never happens. She asked how it went, and I made the mistake of telling her I'd had a really good time. Her face went cold. What did you talk about? I should have lied, but I was still feeling good, still feeling like myself, so I said, just normal stuff. Work, old college stories. It was nice to laugh again. Laugh again. Her voice got that edge I know so well. What's that supposed to mean? I tried to backtrack, but she kept pushing. Finally, I snapped. It means I felt normal for once. It means I had a conversation where I wasn't worried about saying something wrong every 5 seconds. The fight that followed was unlike anything we'd ever had. Sarah was furious that I'd discussed our relationship with Tom. She said I was making her look bad, that Tom would never understand the work she'd put into helping me. She accused me of being ungrateful, of embarrassing her by acting like she was some kind of monster. But here's the thing, I wasn't backing down this time. Every time she tried to twist my words or make me feel guilty, I thought about Tom's face when I told him about the corners, about Carol's concerned expression at book club, about how it felt to laugh without worrying about being too loud. Maybe, I said, the problem isn't that I'm socially awkward. Maybe the problem is that you've convinced me I am. Sarah's face went white, then red. Then she said something I'll never forget. Fine. If you think you're so socially capable, prove it. Your sister's engagement party is next weekend. Let's see how you do without my help. The thing is, I'd forgotten about my sister's party. Sarah usually handles all the social planning, tells me what to wear, coaches me on what to talk about. The thought of going alone should have terrified me. But instead, I felt relieved. I called my sister Jenny the next day. We talked for an hour about her engagement, her fiancé, the party details. Normal sibling conversation. She was excited I was coming and asked if I was bringing Sarah. When I said I might come alone, she was quiet for a moment. Mike, she said carefully, I hope this doesn't sound weird, but you seem different. More like yourself. It's nice to hear. Turns out my whole family has noticed the change in me over the past few years. My mom later told me she'd been worried but didn't know how to bring it up. My dad said he missed the son who used to tell terrible jokes at family dinners. Even my teenage nephew mentioned that I seemed less weird than I used to be. The engagement party was a revelation. I talked to people. I told stories. I helped my sister set up decorations and gave a speech that made people laugh in a good way. I was myself, the person I'd been before Sarah convinced me that version of me was wrong. My uncle pulled me aside at one point and said, "It's so good to see you back to normal, Mike. We were starting to worry about you." When I got home that night, Sarah was waiting again. She asked how it went, and I could see she was expecting me to admit I'd made a fool of myself. Instead, I told her the truth, that it had gone great, that I'd had a wonderful time, that my family was happy to see me acting like myself again. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she said, "Well, I guess you don't need me anymore." It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. And for the first time in years, I had an answer ready. Maybe I never did. Final update. It's been 3 months since I posted here, and my life is completely different now. Sarah and I are getting divorced. It wasn't dramatic or explosive. After that last conversation, we both knew it was over. We tried counseling for about a week, but the moment the counselor started asking Sarah about the corner thing, she shut down completely. She refused to see it as anything other than helping Mike with his social issues. The counselor, Dr. Martinez, was incredible. She helped me understand that what I'd experienced was a form of emotional abuse called coercive control. Sarah had systematically undermined my confidence and isolated me from social situations, then convinced me it was for my own good. It's apparently more common than I thought. Moving out was strange. I'd forgotten what it felt like to come home and not immediately scan the room to see what mood Sarah was in. To sit wherever I wanted in my own living space. To answer my phone without getting a look that said I was being rude. I'm renting a small apartment across town. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. Tom helped me move, and we ended up having a few beers after, sitting on my bare floor with pizza boxes and talking until 2 a.m. "You know what's different about you now," he said. "You're not apologizing for everything anymore." He was right. I hadn't even noticed, but I'd been apologizing constantly for years. Sorry for talking too long. Sorry for laughing too loud. Sorry for existing in the same space as other people. I don't do that anymore. Work has been better too. I've started speaking up in meetings again, contributing ideas. My boss actually mentioned that I seem more engaged lately. I got assigned to a new project that requires a lot of client interaction, something Sarah always said I was terrible at. Turns out I'm actually pretty good at it. I've been going out more, reconnecting with old friends, making new ones. Last month, I joined a recreational basketball league through work. I'm terrible at basketball, but I have fun, and the guys are cool. One of them, Marcus, invited me to his birthday party last weekend. I almost didn't go. Old habits die hard, and part of me was still worried about saying something stupid or embarrassing myself. But I forced myself to show up, and I'm so glad I did. I spent the whole night talking to people, telling jokes, being social. Nobody put me in a corner. Nobody told me I was being too loud or too excited. I was just a normal person at a party. Marcus's girlfriend came up to me at one point and said, "You're so funny." I'm glad Marcus invited you. Such a simple comment, but it hit me like a revelation. People enjoy my company. I'm not the social disaster that Sarah convinced me I was. The divorce papers came through last week. Sarah tried one last manipulation attempt, telling me I'd never find anyone else who would be patient enough to deal with my issues. But her words just bounced off me. I know who I am now, and I like that person. I'm not saying everything is perfect. I'm still rebuilding my confidence, still learning to trust my own judgment about social situations. Sometimes I catch myself asking, is this okay, before I speak? And I have to remind myself that normal people don't need permission to exist in conversations. But I'm getting there. My family is thrilled to have me back. My friends keep telling me how good it is to see me myself again. And I'm starting to understand what they mean. Last night, I was at my sister's place for Sunday dinner, something I'd stopped doing years ago because Sarah always had some excuse why we couldn't go. My nephew was telling me about some drama at his high school, and I found myself giving him advice, making him laugh, being the uncle I used to be. My sister caught my eye across the table and smiled. Later, when we were doing dishes, she said, I'm proud of you, for leaving, for getting yourself back. I almost cried right there in her kitchen. Because she's right, I did get myself back. The Mike who tells terrible jokes and gets excited about stupid things and talks too much sometimes. The Mike who people actually enjoy being around. The Mike who was never broken in the first place. To anyone reading this who sees themselves in my story, you're not broken either. If someone is making you stand in corners, literally or figuratively, if they're convincing you that you're the problem, if they're slowly erasing who you are and calling it help, run. It's not help. It's not love. It's control. You deserve to take up space in this world. You deserve to have conversations and tell jokes and be yourself without asking permission. You deserve to be with people who celebrate who you are, not people who try to fix you. I'm 34 years old, and I'm just now learning to be comfortable in my own skin again. Don't wait as long as I did. Life's too short to spend it standing in the corner.